Theresa, one half of Literary Intoxicated, and welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be a Christmas book tag that I saw from 2019. It was developed by Lauren Wade. I'll link her channel below. And it's the Christmas Carol book tag. And I will get started with the very first question, and that is The Ghost of Christmas Past. It's a book that was a childhood favorite. And I'm looking down because notes. Childhood favorite. Okay. Well, the name of the book is The Illustrated Treasure of Children's Literature. As a child, I wasn't like, that I can remember, I wasn't a real big avid reader. But this book was on our shelves as a kid. And I used to go through it constantly and read stories out of this. Now, this is not the actual book. This is an edition that I found that is as close to the actual book as I could find. The actual book I own. The actual book looks like this. It was just read and read and read and read into oblivion. I mean, Princess and the Pea, it's got like all the country mouse and the town mouse, all these, Alice in Wonderland, all these great little stories. The Owl and the Pussycat. I remember this one I particularly loved as a kid. I would read it over and over again. It's a nursery rhyme poem, and it's called Over in the Meadow. And I absolutely loved that. Plus it had this thing called the Goops. You know, Henny Penny, the Three Bears. All the little tiny nursery rhymes. I'm trying to get that so you guys can see that. A bunch of, what? Oh well. Nursery rhymes. It was fabulous. Baa Black Sheep. It was the best thing ever. I was just so taken in by it. And the end papers, look at those end papers. Are those fabulous or what? Why does it keep doing that? I think I just keep getting some shade from the window. Okay, number 2 on the list is The Ghost of Christmas Present. And that is a recent book that will become one of your all-time favorites. And I have to say, it's The Gracekeepers by Kirsty Logan. I listened to this book on audio and was just blown away by it. First of all, the narrator, oh my God, the narrator is insane. I loved her. She just brought so much life to this book. And it's about, it has magical realism in it, and it's about a floating circus and two women. It's Callanish, what's the other girl's name? Callanish is the Gracekeeper. So she's a landlocker. And then the people that live in boats on the sea are the Damplings. And I believe it is a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's in the future. It doesn't say what future. It doesn't give you, you know, a year or time. But let me just read this blurb for you. It says, as a Gracekeeper, Callanish administers, excuse me with my braces, I'm having a hard time speaking. As a Gracekeeper, Callanish administers shoreside burials, laying the dead to their final resting place deep in the depths of the ocean. Alone on her island, she has exiled herself to a life of tending watery graves as penance for a long-ago mistake that still haunts her. Meanwhile, North, that's the other woman's name, works as a circus performer with the Excalibur, a floating troupe of acrobats, clowns, dancers, and trainers who sail from one archipelago, I don't know if that's the correct way to say it, to the next, entertaining in exchange for sustenance. In a world divided between those inhabiting the mainland, landlockers, and those who float on the sea, damplings, loneliness has become a way of life for North and Callanish, until a sudden storm offshore brings change to both of their lives, offering them a new understanding of the world they live in and the consequences of the past, while restoring hope and an unexpected future. It is inspired in part by Scottish myths and fairy tales. It is just absolutely beautiful. It is the most beautiful book. I mean, I don't even know how I don't remember how I came about finding out about this book, but it is the most beautiful, and I'm telling you, you need to listen to it. It is beautiful. It is, the performance of the narrator is outstanding. It is the most wonderful, I can't even say enough about this book. Awesome. You must go read it. Okay, enough on that. Ooh, keep dipping down. So the next is The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And it's about a book coming out next year that you're excited about. And for that book, it's by Maggie Stiefvater, and it's the Dreamer Trilogy, the second book, which is Mr. Impossible. The first one being Call Down the Hawk, the second book being Mr. Impossible, and that is released in May of 2021. I've already pre-ordered it. I cannot wait to read it. I love the Raven cycle, and this just continues the story on with, it's about Ronan. The first book, Call on the Hawk, was about Ronan and Adam, and then they introduced some new characters. And it's just, first I didn't think I was going to like it as much, but it proved itself to me, and I'm really enjoying it. Looking forward to Mr. Impossible. The fourth question is Bah Humbug, a book that everyone loves and you can't stand. Well, I don't know that everyone loves it. I think it's a love-hate relationship with this book, but let me tell you, that book for me is none other than Edith Wharton's Ethan Frome. I read a synopsis of this book and I was like, oh my god, that sounds really good. I can't wait to read it. The book is like maybe 100 pages and it took me forever to read. It was, I don't know what it was about the book. I don't know. It was just, for me, it was just not good. It was painful. It was just, in so many ways, painful. And it's got basically a 4.5 star rating on Goodreads. I gave it 1. I couldn't, I mean, I didn't DNF it because it was only 100 pages, but it was painful to read. And on from that note, number 5 is Bob Cratchit, an old dependable that you always recommend. I have a few. For middle grade, it's Holly Black's Doll Bones. I mean, again, how I came across this book, I don't know. Just because I'm a Holly Black fan, maybe, and I saw that, you know, there it was. But it's so good. It's about this, I was just reading the back really quick. It's about this group of 3 kids. What are their names? They're about 12 years old. Zach, Poppy, and Alice. And they do like these role-playing games. You know, kind of like Dungeon and Dragon type thing. But they actually have old like G.I. Joes and Barbies and stuff like that that they've altered and converted into different characters. And they play out these games on the ground. The back of the book, let me show you the back of the book. Let me see if I can do it this way. The back of the book, I'm sorry about the lighting. The back of the book says, my name is Eleanor Kirchner. You You Can Call Me the Queen. I died in 1895 and now it's time to play. And it's a quest. They go on a quest that has to do with this doll. These 3 12-year-old children go on a quest by themselves in regards to this doll. And it's just wonderful. Oh, it's wonderful. It's lovely. You should all read it. It's so good. So it doesn't say what I wanted to tell you in the blurb, so I'm not going to tell you. But Holly Black, The Doll Bones. I recommend this to everybody, adults and children alike. It's a fabulous read. I recommend it to you. And then for YA, again, oddly enough, Holly Black, The Coldest Girl in Coldtown. I have read this book multiple times. I am constantly listening to this book. It is so good. And the reason why the audiobook is so good, besides the story is wonderful, is the narrator, Kristin Lincoln. I always have to make sure because there's another Kristin that is very similar. I'll listen to her reading off her grocery list because I love her voice and she just does all the voices. She's such a good narrator that I absolutely looked her up and have listened to multiple books that she narrates. But this book, it's a vampire book. It's kind of a little bit of a new take on the vampires, and it's about this one girl, Tana. All the vampires are in these places called cold towns. So there was an outbreak of vampires, and then, like, would you say the government? I guess the government kind of like corralled them up and put them in these places called cold towns. And it's not just vampires that live in these cold towns. If you're a human, you can go in there and live too. And then they have they broadcast out to the world what's happening inside the cold towns. Okay, so I can't tell you this. So it's about Tana, who goes to a party one night. They're called what are they called? A sundown party, I think is what they call them, because it's after the lights go out. And everything's locked up, so, you know, the vampires can't get in, whatever. But she goes to this party, and then she wakes up the next morning, and she's the only one alive. So she thinks. But when she goes to look in the bedroom to get her stuff, and you know, she's freaking out, but to get her stuff, and I call someone on her phone, she finds that her ex-boyfriend is tied up to the bed in this bedroom where all the jackets and stuff are. So he's still alive. And next to him is another boy that's still alive. And it's about so yeah, so it's about her rescuing all 3 of them. Yeah, I'm so bad at telling people what books are about, but it's really good. You should really read it. Listen to it. Narrator's awesome. For adults, that I always recommend, again, The Gracekeepers. Excellent book. So those are my constant recommendations for middle grade, young adult, and adult books. And then the next question on the list is Tiny Tim, an underhyped book that I think deserves more love. Now, I don't know whether or not this book is underhyped. I only came about this book because of the narrator, who is Kristin Lincoln, and ended up absolutely loving the book. Now, it's by A.S. King, so, excuse me, so I'm thinking that more people than I know about the book, so it may not be underhyped, but it is Gloria O'Brien's History of the Future by A.S. King. Very good book. It's about Gloria O'Brien and her friend that lives across the street. So it's about Gloria and Ellie, who have been best friends. They live across the street from each other, and they've been best friends since they can remember. They've known each other forever. Ellie, her and her mom, they live on a commune that's across the street. And Glory, she lives in just a regular house across the street, but her house does not have an oven. So it doesn't have an oven because her mother committed suicide. so they don't have an oven. Her mother was a photographer, and Glory takes pictures as well. But the story's about Glory and Ellie. They drink a petrified bat. Yes. Why would they drink a petrified bat? Well, it tells you in the story. And within drinking that, spoiler, so they drink the petrified bat and something happens to both of them that has to do with the title. And we find out more about, a little bit more about Glory's mom and what happened to her, and about the commune. And it's a beautiful, it's a young adult book, and with the relationship between Glory and Ellie, and how that, how it not evolves, but it kind of like she comes to reckon with her friendship with Ellie, and the history of the future part is excellent. It's very good. You should read it. And guess what? You should listen to it, because it is narrated by Kristin Lakin, and she is an awesome narrator. Go listen to it now. The next question is today, why is Christmas Day? What's a book that always gets you in the Christmas mood for Christmas? Or always gets you in the mood for Christmas? Well, I've never really read seasonally, but I started reading this year Nigel Slater's The Christmas Chronicles. And it starts in November, and it actually goes all the way to the beginning of February. But reading this has been really getting me into the Christmas spirit, because he first of all, he loves winter, so do I, and he talks about all the little things that make up winter and make winter so enjoyable. And he gives you some recipes in there too. A lot of them I would like to try. Like I've never made a plum pudding or fruit cake, and I would love to try that. But it's gotten me really, in this time that we're going through right now, it really has gotten me into the Christmas spirit. And I think next year I'm gonna listen to it on audio, and hopefully it won't get old. I would like to kind of read this every Christmas. Another book that kind of gets me into the Christmas, that kind of gets me into the Christmas spirit is Jeanette Winterson's Christmas Days, 12 Stories of Christmas, and she has some recipes in there too. And I listened to it last year, and I'm listening to it again this year, but I also bought the book, so I want to actually look at the recipes. But that always gets me into the, not always, just last year, and now this year has been getting me into the Christmas spirit as well. And then the last on this list is The Muppet Christmas Carol. Your favorite adaptation of a book. I can't think of my favorite adaptation of a book, but I can think of one of the worst ones. I recently read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. And let me say, I did not put this book down. I read it straight through. It was, I mean, I don't know if it was like the best book, and it wasn't about what I thought it was going to be about. Not at all what I thought it was going to be about. But it kept me turning the page. It just kept me turning and turning the page. I read it in one sitting, and then I went, I think it was on Netflix, and I went and watched the adaptation of it, and I could have died. They ruined it. Now, I know every book lover says, oh, the book is better, but no, they freaking ruined it. They didn't even, it's like they said, okay, here's the concept of the book, now let's fucking change everything. They ruined it. They just ruined it. And that's all I can say. It was the only thing that comes close, and it's not even as bad, is the Bird Box. Netflix adapted the Bird Box, and I did not like it. If you read the book, The Bird Box, I can't remember who the author is off the top of my head, but if you read the book, you will not like. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't like this. It was like, that's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. But it was like, no, that's not what it's about. Why change all that stuff? Sorry, I can get a little about when they adapt books. It's like, why? Why did you do that? Anyway, those are the books I have. That's the Christmas Carol tag that Lauren Wade made in 2019. I just thought it was pretty good to make a booktube about. I'm also just getting used to doing videos and my camera just stopped recording for whatever reason, I don't know. And my batteries don't last very long and all that horrible stuff. But anyway, if you've gotten this far, thanks for watching. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy what you've seen so far, think about subscribing to my channel, but no pressure, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.